regional ministers, heads of security agencies, President and members of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, President and members of the Small Scale Miners Association, leadership and members of Parliament, both of the majority and minority, representatives of all political parties that contested the presidential election of 2020, members of the diplomatic corps, members of academia, representatives of civil society organizations, members of the media, and indeed a host of others. Mr. President, in compliance with your instructions, we made it a point to make this conference a non-partisan one and to make it as broad-based as possible and national in character. I am happy to report that officials of both the President and parts governments are scheduled to chair important panel discussions. This gathering is truly a national consultative dialogue and will last for 2 days. That is today, Wednesday, 14th April, and tomorrow, Thursday, 15th April. We hope to replicate this consultation in all the mining regions and districts across the country. The holding of this consultation, Mr. President, is critical because the small-scale mining industry contributes over a third of Ghana's gold output. The industry plays a significant role in the local economies of many parts of our country. Since 2017, a bold attempt was made to sanitize the industry. Considerable successes were achieved in this effort, including the training of miners, reviewing, amending, and enacting laws to strengthen the legal and regulatory framework of the industry. Community mining was introduced, and we are perfecting it steadily. But government recognizes the complexity of this industry. We recognize that there are lessons to be learned, and there's still a lot more work to be done. That is why this national consultative dialogue must be undertaken on the basis of honesty, candor, and with an attitude of constructiveness. We believe and hope that out of the deliberations of this forum, a consensual roadmap can be fashioned out, which should enjoy broad-based national support. The good people of Ghana expect this forum to provide answers to many lingering issues. For instance, Mr. President, how do we effectively regulate this industry? What reforms are required? How do we mobilize finances for the players in the industry? And what should be the role of the banks? How do we generate community support, including the support of our chiefs? How do we deal with the financiers of illegal small-scale mines who put young men into mining pits whilst they receive the proceeds of such criminal enterprises in the comfort of their homes and hotels? And in many cases, such persons never visit a mining site in their lifetime. How do we deal with the illegal involvement of foreign nationals in this industry? How do we fashion out alternative livelihoods for those who will inevitably fall out of the cracks? What can we learn from the international community? What kind of enforcement regime is required which bites and does so without fear or favor? How do we name, shame, and punish politicians, chiefs, religious leaders, the elite, and people with money and influence who are promoters of these criminal cartels in this industry? Should we introduce medium-scale mining in the structure of our mining industry? And if so, should foreign nationals participate in medium-scale mining? Mr. President, after all is said and done, we have to find correct answers to all of these issues. Having found these answers, the resolve of the President of the day or his sector minister to implement these solutions and recommendations will not be enough. We will require a holistic, honest national effort anchored on integrity of action. We will require a candid, collaborative, and collective action. We will require candor, which eschew double talk. We have carefully and deliberately assembled the best resources and expertise in the mining industry of our country. After every presentation, the plenary will have the opportunity to deliberate on the content of the presentation. It will be as interactive as possible so that we get the best out of this exercise. The report which will come out of this, hopefully will pass the usual scrutiny and rigor of the akufo-addo cabinet. Mr. President, members of the Council of State, Ministers of State, President of the National Association, Nananom, honorable members of Parliament, President of the Chamber and Small-Scale Miners Association, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources wish to assure the President of the Republic, participants at this forum, and Mother Ghana, that whatever set of measures that will emanate from the deliberations over the course of the next 2 days, if approved by government, will be implemented diligently, dispassionately, and with a great sense of integrity and urgency. I welcome you all to this historic event, and I thank you.
Ghana's Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel Abu-Jinapor, thank you very much for that warm note of welcome, calling us to frank and candid conversations. This morning, Mr. President, Honorable Ministers of State, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for the next 5 minutes, let's please lend our attention to the screens as we acquaint ourselves with the true problem at hand.
It is said that the earth will not continue to offer its harvest except with faithful stewardship. We cannot say we love the land and then take steps to destroy it for use by future. Ghana's environment has always been one to explore as it resonates peace in totality. Years have rolled by and we have been apt in keeping the environment alive with effective campaigns like the Green Ghana Project, where afforestation was rife. Looking back, our vegetation lacked nothing in its purity. Our forests, Achimota, Etiwa, Kakum, amongst many others, had great vegetation that stood tall in beauty across the sub-Saharan region.
We cannot look on as our very existence as a country is put in jeopardy and our water bodies, forests, and landmass are destroyed. Even with the ban, it has been a never-ending battle with the galimpsayers. And I'm sure the House will want to join with me in paying tribute to the members of our forces in the Operation Vanguard that are protecting our environment. They are Ghanaian patriots of the first order.
Our lands were filled with natural resources and gave us so much pride as a country. Resources that were once mined by law and gave the country the deserved revenue have been illegally mined and left the country stained with the term galamsey. Our rivers once had life and were a source to behold. Pra, Birim, and Cobra, Oti, provided for the entire nation on a large scale. There were also sources where communities resorted to before the initiation of the boreholes by the government in these surrounding communities. Now, what do we see? Depleted lands, deforestation, illegal mining, dirty water bodies that have left our precious country to bleed.
In the last 4 years, so much has been achieved in cleaning up this industry, training miners in the best methods of mining, introducing community mining, enacting additional regulatory legislation. But the reality is that illegal small-scale mining remains a major problem. I am confident that the new energetic Minister for Lands and Natural Resources and a Member of Parliament for Damango constituency, the Honorable Samuel Abu-Jinapor, will rapidly facilitate the holding of this national dialogue and will work to build on the progress of his predecessors by enhancing regulation of this sector, which should be anchored on the protection of the environment and on community mining.
To have a beautiful Ghana, we need to rise. We must work together. Our land and natural resources need to be protected. Be a citizen and let's restore our land to its initial state. A land of natural resources filled with milk and honey promotes peace and comfort.
This is why His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has invited all of us, chiefs, academia, politicians, present and past policymakers, industry practitioners, civil society organizations, and many others gathered here today to help devise solutions to save our environment. Thank you all for coming on board, and for the sake of our country, let's get to work.
Hashtag restore our lands. Hashtag Green Ghana. This is an initiative by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources.
This is how we gather for a mission restoration as we secure for ourselves and posterity a land which is green and healthy. This morning, Mr. President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is particularly appropriate that we hear from the major players and the minor players in the mining sector. Speaking to us now is the MD of Anglo Gold Ashanti, who is also the president of the Ghana Chamber of Mines. Would you please make welcome Mr. Eric Isubonting.
Your Excellency, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel Abdullah Agyapong, the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, Nananom Nime Name, the Chief Executive Officers of the various regulatory institutions and agencies, the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the membership of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, I wish to express our warmest appreciation to His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo for introducing the idea to hold this national dialogue on small-scale mining in the most recent State of the Nation address. We also wish to use the opportunity to commend you, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel Agyapong, for consistently making the Ghana Chamber of Mines a part of the progressive change His Excellency the President himself has opted to play a central role in this dialogue with his presence here today, which is ample evidence of his commitment to mainstreaming regularized small-scale mining and fighting all forms of illegal mining. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to present some issues that are topical on the minds of our members as we collectively seek to develop a system that inures to the ecology of Ghana, to its economy, and to investors in the mining industry. I am certain that the majority of us here today, one way or the other, have been part of the national conversation on sustainable mining practices that in essence focus mining's impact on human capital formation, the society, as well as on the environment and its economic benefits. Producing member companies of the Chamber, who are also the most regulated large-scale producers of minerals, continue to play significant roles in promoting environmentally and socially responsible mining in Ghana. It is for this reason that the Chamber proactively engages with the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners with the overarching objective to improve upon their operations and to support their advocacy towards mainstreaming the small-scale mining sector. Your Excellency, at the risk of preaching to the converted, permit me to define what the Chamber believes to be a mainstream small-scale mining sector. For us at the Chamber, mainstreaming means creating a structure that facilitates permitting, exploration, production, monitoring, regulating, and above all, creating support systems for the small-scale mining players to operate in a responsible manner whilst meeting their statutory obligations. In this regard, it is our expectation that the institutions of state that are mandated to ensure the regulation and promotion of the small-scale mining subsector will be aligned in purpose and direction to create a harmonious and conducive operating environment that benefits the operators, the state, and other stakeholders. One may ask why we are all so fixated on the formalization of small-scale mining sector. All over the world, the extractives industry contributes immensely to the economies of countries. In Ghana, the mining sector's contribution to GDP is about 10%, and it is the largest contributor to our gross merchandise exports, accounting for about 43% of gross merchandise exports. The industry was second largest contributor to direct domestic receipts by the Ghana Revenue Authority. These metrics are not inclusive of the value created across the business linkages that the mining industry offers to the non-mineral economy. The sector's importance requires that we continue to reevaluate its systems to obtain more inherent benefits for national development through mainstreaming, especially the small-scale mining subsector. As we all know, the small-scale mining subsector by law is exclusive to Ghanaians, and it is our firm belief that with the necessary guidance and direction, our entrepreneurs can blossom and become medium-scale and ultimately large-scale miners. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, one critical area that the Chamber believes should be of concern in extracting our mineral endowments is obviously the environment and the management of it. The environment is not only what sustains our lives, it also defines who we become as a people. For the past decade or so, communities have been inundated with illegal mining and, along with it, dangerous ways of processing ore, destroying water bodies and other sources of subsistence. We have experienced how the turbidity of water bodies has negatively impacted the operations of the Ghana Water Company, sanitation and hygiene in these communities. We cannot claim to care for our people if we are unable to strictly enforce our environmental regulations. We continue to experience the destruction of farmlands, especially cocoa farms, in the name of short-term job creation, and that with an even impoverished community, which could become a time bomb for community and societal stability. Your Excellency, the next area of concern to the Chamber is to ensure that regularized small-scale mining prioritizes and fully incorporates occupational health and safety standards in their activities. As we are all aware, mining does not occur in a vacuum. People mine minerals. Hence, there is the need to put in place the simplest and most cost-effective measures to ensure that persons engaged in small-scale mining are operating in safe conditions using relevant personal protective equipment and working in regulated settings that protect them and others from injury and fatality resulting often from collapsed pits and muddy pools. The country is losing its productive population through such avoidable mortalities, but we can only stem the tide if we are committed to play our part in the transformation that we seek to achieve. Amongst our members, safety is our #1 value. As we often say, we will not mine if we cannot mine safely. We would like this attitude also expressed and imbibed in the small-scale mining subsector. Ladies and gentlemen, the mining industry remains a key contributor to economic growth. Mainstreaming regularized small-scale mining enables us as a nation to maximize benefits from the mining sector to help fund developmental initiatives for the good of the general public. This is at the heart of the Chamber's thoughts as we continue to engage with small-scale mining for improved outcomes. For the past 3 years, small-scale mining is reported to have contributed an average of 36% of the national gold production. Although small-scale mining accounts for this estimated 36% of national production, the revenue obtained by government from the sector is largely from the large-scale and big mining companies. The recent initiative by GRA to charge a withholding tax has reportedly backfired, with volumes dwindling from the small-scale subsector. The resultant high revenue losses to the state should not be allowed to continue. It will require deeper engagement and an all-round support for small-scale miners to operate as formal businesses which are duly registered and pay to the state its due as required by law. A most recent phenomenon in our industry is continuous agitation of sections of host communities for mineral rights owners, including our members especially, to hive off portions of their concessions for small-scale mining and community mining. Invariably, communities demand hiving off the already explored concessions of our producing member companies, factor in their life of mine calculations and hence investment evaluation. In other words, the very survival of these mines could be based on the reserves in these portions of their concessions that are expected to be hived off. Sometimes, pressure is brought to bear on our member companies to relinquish such concessions to the communities without considering the effect on the business's life and the potential loss of fiscal revenue to the national kitty. In a sense, these pressures could be to the detriment of the greater and general good of our country. As we have demonstrated in our interactions with both government and the Association of Small-Scale Miners, the Ghana Chamber of Mines is willing to continue to work with stakeholders to identify ways to run responsible and sustainable small-scale mines that will be of benefit to our nation. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that the requisite regulatory and support systems are put in place. Before I conclude, I wish to state that mining is a serious business which depends on finite resources and should therefore not be seen as a mere social good. It is also hazardous and therefore must be well regulated by ensuring that only trained and suitably certified persons engage in the endeavor. It is therefore important that any policy decision regarding the mainstreaming of the small-scale mining sector should have our above points and suggestions in view. And I know in the next 2 days we would be engaging actively in the discussions that happen. On this note, I wish to express our profound gratitude once again to His Excellency the President for offering us the opportunity to share our brief thoughts with you on ways to improve small-scale mining and collectively bring a semblance of responsibility into its operation. That we will adapt and implement concrete steps that are locally driven and sustainable to make Ghana the beacon of sustainable small-scale mining on the African continent. On this note, Trinity.
We're grateful to you, Mr. Eric Osubonting, the MD Anglo Gold Ashanti and the President of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, for your very warm and thoughtful remarks, calling us to a reevaluation of our policy regimes and our processes. Mr. President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it now falls to the Director of Finance of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, Mr. Francis Opoku, to address us.
Your Excellency, Mr. President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel Abdullahi Junapo, Minister of State, Honorable Members of Parliament present, Nananom, members of the diplomatic corps, friends from the media, fellow miners, ladies and gentlemen, the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners pledge our unflinching support to the government in the management of illegal small-scale mining activities, popularly known as galamsey, and its negative impact on mining communities and the nation as a whole. Small-scale mining was legalized in 1989 with the promulgation of PNDC Law 218, which was subsequently amended with the enactment of the Minerals and Mining Act 2006 as 703. These legislations allow only Ghanaians to undertake small-scale mining. The promulgation of these laws, the total percentage contribution of small-scale mining to Ghana produced annually increased from 2% in 1989 to over 35% in 2020. Within this legal environment, small-scale mining industry evolved from an unregulated rudimentary activity undertaken by the rural poor as a means of survival to a regulated and business model-based wealth creation activity by Ghanaian entrepreneurs. The sector provides employment to more than 1 million people directly and indirectly to over 4 million people. Minerals production from the sector also rose significantly from around 2% at the time of regularization, that is in 1989, to an all-time high of 43.14% of the total production for gold in 2018. In 2020, the sector raked in more than $2 billion in forest earnings. Small-scale mining also feed the downstream, that's the jewelry industries, with the raw gold for value addition, thereby supporting the creation of opportunities locally. The industry also provides employment along its value chain to the local population, and by that contribute to reducing migration to the cities for non-existent job opportunities. The sector has also paid over 160 million Ghana cedis in withholding tax since its introduction in May 2020. In contrast, illegal small-scale mining is unregulated, and by that presents the economy with multidimensional challenges. The first challenge is the destruction of the physical environment. Large tracts of farm and forest reserves are cleared and mined quickly without reclamation. River bodies are also dredged and sometimes diverted to mine the alluvial deposit in the river bodies. This results in the silting and pollution of subsequent impact on community water supply system. Mine output become death traps to the local populace, particularly children. Mining communities also have negative social and health impacts. Drug abuse, high school dropouts, teenage pregnancy, and prostitution, among others, to contend with. The economy also loses revenue through the non-payment of taxes and smuggling. Illegal small-scale mining thus poses huge security threats to the nation, said that by 2014, with a near breakdown in governance, the nature of operation was regarded as a crisis situation. We were therefore glad when His Excellency, the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, put his own presidency online and instituted drastic measures to arrest and reverse the situation. The intervention has undoubtedly stemmed the tide of degradation of our natural resources. We believe that management of illegal small-scale mining is a shared responsibility between government, the association, and other stakeholders. Indeed, no single entity can fight this fight and win. It needs total collaboration from all stakeholders. It is in the light of this and the unprecedented will exhibited by you, Mr. President, that in the last 4 years, the association, through its self-regulation policy, partnered government agencies with our task force to successfully clear 8,000 chanfan. Chanfan is a local, it's a Chinese-molded dredging machines that are normally used to destroy our water bodies. We did that at a cost of over 900,000 Ghana cedis borne by the association. And in the recognition of the unflinching will of Your Excellency, the zeal and the confidence being displayed by our sector minister, Honorable Samuel Abu Junapo, to deal with the remaining challenges on the ground, that we are here to solidarize with the government in the quest to developing blueprints for dealing with the lingering challenges confronting the sector. We of the association believe, and we believe firmly, that we can build on the progress made in the past 4 years, guided by the lessons learned together. The Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Mining is therefore ever ready to collaborate with the government and all key stakeholders to implement whatever policies and programs that will emanate from this dialogue to rid the small-scale mining industry of illegal activities and to improve sustainable small-scale mining. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, the Director of Finance of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, Mr. Francis Opoku. And together, let's hear it up for the small-scale miners and the Chamber of Mines. We thank you for all your efforts in achieving sustainability. Mr. President, distinguished ministers of state, ladies and gentlemen, the true beneficiaries of our efforts this morning will be the children of Ghana. Here to speak on their behalf in poetry is Nakayet Dramani. Please welcome her warmly.
Every free money, Ghana for whom my young store worker, India illegal mining, me try galamsey, not deforestation, me try cutting down trees. Ghana. Why and share the insu a phone nara a denet a proto. Ghana home my young soul worker. For a call to action is now. Because in the beginning, God created heavens and earth was formless and empty. And when creation story was over, flora and fauna, the plants and animal lives that dazzled the eyes were bequeathed to man. Ochocho bonsu, otuman kumabuazi, ambonyen aburokra. Wadum nimba ejapazi ahru. De yenzizidu na yenshadiye. Na obenden hayama asase furichi enyiswe. Why are we destroying the environment? The destruction and the depletion of our resources, such as gold, diamond, air, water, and the wildlife, should stop now. Let us save our Ramsey sites to prevent extinction of endangered species. You are building on waterways, but you see nothing wrong with it. I am talking to you. If the environment has a mouth, she will speak. Say asasi so wana in choba kasa. The rain that comes, even though it is not her season, comes in torrent. When it's time for the sun, it gives out its best heat as if it wants to devour its prey. Climate change, global warming, and ozone depletion are beckoning. The garbage you threw into the gutter last night, you knew wasn't right, but you never bothered. If the environment has a mouth, she will speak. Sa asasi so wana. Jamisi koba kasa. Over a period of 100 years, Ghana has lost 80% of its forest cover. Yes, you heard me right. 80% of our forest cover is gone. Fishermen are now catching more plastics than fishes. If the environment has a mouth, she will speak. Sa asasi so wana he chamisi koba kasa. This poem is about our planet, our home, our habitat. It's about our continuous existence. This poem is not about our extinction and termination. This poem is about the floods, the hurricanes, tornadoes, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and tsunamis being experienced day in and day out. This poem is about the multiplication of extreme climate phenomena being experienced in rapid succession around the globe. This poem, this story, this discourse is asking a question: that can we survive this accelerated climate change? This poem is re-echoing the fears of Antonio Guterres, UN Secretary General, who said we are losing the race to global warming. This poem is to turn the illegal mining story into a story of hope. This poem is to encourage nations and continents to scale up efforts for climate change mitigation. Let us respect the environment and stop illegal mining. For a call to action is now. His Excellency, our Excellency, my Excellency, your Excellency, Nana Addo Dankwa akufo-addo. Awu iyo kakayin mo kakabenfo. Awu misi iya putisi ye. Sawa humudo etawunswenwo aye. Awu iye beyina imbeyin slow. Awu iye huna abobu. His Excellency. Awu pintin primbotum amenwa. Oho, Pontom prombotum amenwa. Oho, imbrikisi botum amenwa. Oho, awu asuro asaso identity odumankuma. Odumankuma. Awu ye putisi yo na misi rinkansazida. Kodinaba na bisinaba wasem obanyansa futidawo His Excellency. Eya bisipo na misi uwo boni na muhukwa. Awu okatabana wachewudin aside. Idiatan tampana isi asasi fom wa insitinu wa ha mpoda. De biara rim ombwa na dazimbwa zizi wonrin ase. His Excellency, awu eyo jamakoto koba na misi ata baby a onrin wankasa. His Excellency, awu na ebontia dimbeyin echi shisha inzepa ma woman. Aye binti na wofro aye buafo. We are so grateful for your great foresight and efforts. Thank you, His Excellency, Nana Addo Dankwa akufo-addo. Mr. President, kasa, na woman ayasu too. Medahum na asi.
And what has been hidden from the wise and the prudent has been revealed to the babes and the sucklings. Ladies and gentlemen, Nakayed Dramani. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the father of the nation addresses his children. Nana Addo Dankwa akufo-addo.
The Chief Imam and clergy, Greater Accra Regional Minister, members of the Council of State, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Minister for the Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, current and former Ministers of State, chairpersons and members of Parliament's select committees on lands, forestry, environment and mining, current and former members of Parliament, heads of our security services, representatives of political parties, representatives of civil society organizations, President and members of the National House of Chiefs and traditional rulers, President and members of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, President and members of the Small Scale Miners Association, members of the Diplomatic Corps, fellow Ghanaians, ladies and gentlemen. I thank the energetic new Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel Abujinapo, Member of Parliament for Damango, for convening this national consultative dialogue on small-scale mining, and for the invitation to deliver these remarks. We have come from far and near, and from across the political divide, because of the importance we attach to the subject matter, and because of our collective determination to find a convergence of minds on the way forward. My views on the matter are well known and well documented. However, certain occurrences, especially in the run-up to the election of 7th December last, have inspired my insistence on the whole nation having a national conversation on Galamsey, and I thank each and every one of you for making it to this consultative dialogue. I want to begin by emphasizing one point. Mining can create jobs, mining can improve livelihoods, and mining can generate wealth. But it cannot and must not do so at the expense of damaging the very environment that produces the riches. We have to acknowledge that Ghana is not made up only of the humans, but is also made up of the soil, the mountains and valleys, the forests, the rivers, the lakes, the seas, and the plant and animal life as well. Without them, we humans cannot and will not survive, and so they also need nurturing. We have to acknowledge that the natural environment has as much right to be here as we humans do. In many parts of the world, stories abound of wildlife returning to rivers and lakes, parks and gardens, and even to some town and village centers as people retreated into lockdowns or cut back on open public activities because of COVID-19. There is clearly a contest between us, humans, and the natural environment, and it is a lesson we must collectively confront. We must adapt to coexisting in peace and harmony with nature. This is the time to help rejuvenate our land, the time to take a careful look at how we use the land, the time to revisit our farming and building practices, and yes, the time to address the issue of Galamsey. I have said it on many occasions, and it is worth repeating. The Almighty has blessed us with precious minerals in our land. It is not surprising, therefore, that mining has always been part of our lives. There is nothing wrong with mining or blessed with to develop our country. A substantial part of the revenues of the central government comes from mining. Indeed, the central government is always trying to find innovative ways to maximize the earnings from mining in order to provide public infrastructure. Families, too, depend on incomes from mining activities to put food on the table. Mining becomes problematic and dangerous when methods employed pose a danger to the land, the water bodies, and the very lives of the people. Mining becomes a danger to the society when, after extracting the gold, diamond, or other stones and minerals, the land is left degraded and poisoned with toxic minerals. The water bodies are turned into entities that can no longer support life, and plants and fish cannot survive in our rivers. Mining becomes a danger to the society when the sites are abandoned, leaving behind craters filled with mercury and other poisons, which cannot support any more fauna or plant. We have had beautiful and majestic rivers and streams. Today, there's not much to celebrate about the pra or the brim, and there's not much to be excited about over our famed thick forests and the animals that inhabit them. Unacceptable mining and logging practices have laid them to waste. When I called for a national conversation on Galamsey, which eventually has led to the holding of this dialogue on the theme Sustainable Small-Scale Mining for National Development, it is not because I have any doubts about the need to protect our lands and our environment. It is because I want us to have a consensus on a sustainable method of mining the minerals in our land. We cannot have one part of the political divide campaigning for Galamsey in the bush and the other waging an official fight against Galamsey in the open. We must demonstrate that we love our land and are capable of taking care of it ourselves. We do not need foreigners to campaign for the protection of Ghanaian land, our inheritance. We do not need special interest groups to campaign for the protection of Ghanaian soil, flora, and fauna. It is the land of our birth. It is the land we inhabit. It is the land that supports our lands, our lives, and livelihoods. It is the land we named Ghana at independence 64 years ago. And we, the Ghanaian people, must be its best protectors. We must mean it when we sing with pride, Ura Musong, Assassine, Abodien Maye, Mojana Nanu Shweguye, Nede Atoho Amaye. This is our land. It is dear to us. Our forebears gave their blood so we would inherit it. Fellow Ghanaians, it is absolutely crucial that deliberations of this consultative dialogue be candid and devoid of partisanship or narrow parochial interests. Hopefully, at the end of the day, we should be able to build a broad-based national consensus around the necessity to stamp out the menace of illegal small-scale mining and the need to support and grow responsible small-scale mining. There are aspects of our national life which are fair subject matters of partisan politics. We must, however, come to the understanding that small-scale mining and the requirement to do away with illegalities in that sector should be beyond partisan politics. Some subjects simply cannot be part of our everyday politicking. And I urge this forum to insist that illegal small-scale mining and matters relating to it should be one of such issues requiring national effort. Government has a major responsibility to this end, as we are accountable for the stewardship of this sector, as indeed we are of all other sectors of national life. I am determined to enforce the laws on illegal mining, no matter the subject, high or low. I will, however, not act on hearsay or mere allegations without more. I will not hesitate to act, though, where the evidence is hard before the police, and I will do so irrespective of the standing of the person or persons involved. That is the true meaning of equality before the law. We want to build on the modest programs made in my first term. We want to learn from our shortcomings and receive productive inputs from this forum for purposes of enhancing the regulation of the sector. Out of this maiden consultative dialogue I hope we will build a national consensus around a national policy on small-scale mining that promotes a responsible, viable, environmentally sustainable small-scale mining industry, which has discarded the use of mercury, chamfines, and excavators, which has barred the involvement of foreign nationals, and which has rejected the destruction of our forests, environment, and water bodies. This vision of what small-scale mining should be must have the support of the entire nation. I urge this colloquium to be bold and forthright in its deliberations. In other words, say it as it is. No subject or person should be above critique. Politicians, traditional authorities, policymakers, media, so-called influential people should all not be beyond your scrutiny. At the end of the day, what the Ghanaian people expect from this process are solutions which will assist in dealing with this endemic problem. I have confidence in the integrity of the people gathered in this room, and I'm sure that out of your deliberations, a workable blueprint will be produced. Accordingly, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ghanaians, I declare the first National Consultative Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining duly launched, and I wish you well. And I wish you well in your discussions. May God bless us all in our homeland, Ghana, and make her great and strong. I thank you for your attention.
Akufo-addo, you may another resounding round of applause. It is always an edifying experience listening to you, Mr. President. Your remarks have made such an indelible imprint on us, and I believe it will serve as enough fodder for the deliberations ahead. I know this all too well because looking around, I see a healthy complement of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Lands and Natural Resources. Let's give them a resounding round of applause. The President pleads with all of us to lend our full support to today's agenda as the Honorable Inusaf Hussaini, former Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, chairs the first plenary. Isn't that nice? Please, another round of applause. It will be remiss of me not to acknowledge our very esteemed traditional rulers here, led by the President of the President of the National House of Chiefs, who is the Paramount Chief of Sifi Ahmiaso Traditional Area, or Jiawoho Yaojebi II. Nana Yamawakwaba. To this end, I believe all that needs to be said has been said, all that needs to be done will be done, but it will not be done until we invoke the blessing of God Almighty on this great venture. Please rise with me as we receive the Chief Imam, Dr. Sheikh Usman Nuru Shaributu, as he invokes the blessings of Allah. We have insisted that you come. We said what you want.
ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا أنزل علينا مائدة من السماء تكون لنا عيدا لأولنا وآخرنا وآية منك وارزقنا وأنت خير الرازقين اللهم اجعل بلدنا غانا بلدنا آمنا مطمئنا وسائر البلدان اللهم اجعل بلدنا غانا بلدنا آمنا مطمئنا وسائر البلدان وآمنا في أوطاننا ولا تفتنا اللهم ارفع مقتك وقلبك عنا ولا تؤاخذنا بما فعل السفهاء منا اللهم احفظ رئيس جمهورية غانا نانا لونغا أكفو-addo اللهم احفظ رئيس جمهورية غانا نانا أكفو-addo بسر لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيت رأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله ما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ والمصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم اللهم احفظ رئيسنا جمهورية غانا أنا أكفو-addo اللهم احفظ رئيسنا جمهورية غانا أنا أكفو-addo تسير لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله آمين
آمين. الصلاة على النبي.
To this end, we say, may God bless you, the President of the Republic. May God bless this consultative assembly, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make her great and strong. Ladies and gentlemen, we plead with you to please remain still as the President of the Republic exchanges pleasantries and thereafter proceeds to the exhibition. We shall break for 15 minutes for refreshments and reconvene to begin the business of the day with the first plenary. Senior.
Fier de mon Ghana, fier de mon ethnie, fier d'être Ashanti, fier de mes sœurs, fier de mes frères. On avance tous ensemble, Charlie One Love, prêt pour la victoire, Charlie Black Star. Au Ghana toujours le sourire, on vit comme ça. Chez toi c'est comment, chez nous c'est l'amusement. Dans la musique quand vous faites tout le monde est content.
Ladies and gentlemen, we shall be led by our ushers in groups to the designated spots for our cocoa break and reconvene here at exactly 11:30 for the first plenary. Thank you.
No didi didi, no basa basa, yeni wobi anyasa, no even wasama, iti yakambong malanto, wasana.